The letter sat in my desk drawer for 3 months before I finally had the courage to give it to my mom. Every time I opened that drawer to grab a pen or a notebook, I'd see the pale blue envelope with Mom written on it in my neatest handwriting, and my heart would start racing. Some days I'd pick it up, hold it for a moment, then slide it back under the stack of old birthday cards and concert tickets. Today was different. Today, I couldn't keep this secret anymore. My name is Riley, and I'm 18 years old. Well, I was 17 when I wrote the letter, but the 3 months it took me to actually hand it over pushed me past my birthday. This is the story of how one piece of paper changed my entire life and the relationship with the person I love most in the world. I should probably start at the beginning. I first realized I was gay during my junior year of high school, though looking back, the signs were always there. I just didn't have the vocabulary or the courage to name what I was feeling. But then Maya transferred to our school in September, and suddenly everything became crystal clear. Maya sat next to me in a P literature, and from the first day I was completely captivated. She had this wild curly hair that she could never quite tame, dark brown eyes that lit up when she talked about books, and this laugh that made everyone around her want to laugh too. But it wasn't just that she was beautiful. It was the way she'd lean over during class to whisper some observation about the symbolism in whatever novel we were reading, or how she'd defend her interpretations with such passion during discussions, or the way she'd doodle elaborate designs in the margins of her notebook when she was thinking. I found myself thinking about her constantly. I'd wake up excited to go to school just to see her. I'd spend extra time choosing my outfits, wondering if she'd notice. I'd volunteer to be her partner on every group project, and when she'd smile at me in the hallway, my entire day would light up. At first, I told myself we were just becoming really good friends, best friends. Even, that's what girls did, right? They got close. They texted all the time. They had inside jokes. They felt butterflies when they saw each other. But then one day in November, Maya was telling me about this girl she'd gone on a date with over the weekend, and I felt something I'd never experienced before, a sharp, painful jealousy that made my chest tight and my eyes sting with tears I couldn't explain. That's when I knew. This wasn't friendship. I had feelings for Maya, real, romantic feelings, and once I acknowledged that truth, everything else started falling into place. All those times in middle school when I'd been weirdly obsessed with certain female teachers, or older girls. The way I'd never really been interested in the boys who asked me out, always finding some excuse to say no. How I'd get intensely attached to female friends in ways that felt different from how my other friends talked about their friendships. The posters on my wall of actresses and singers that I claimed I just admired. I was gay. I was a lesbian. And somehow, at 17, my entire understanding of myself shifted. Once I realized the truth about myself, I entered this strange, double life. On the outside, I was the same Riley I'd always been, good student, decent athlete, helpful daughter, loyal friend, but inside, I was carrying this enormous secret that felt like it was growing heavier every single day. I started spending hours late at night, scrolling through LGBTQ forums and coming out stories on Reddit. I'd watch YouTube videos of other people's coming out experiences, some beautiful and accepting, others heartbreaking and painful. I'd cry silently into my pillow, both from relief at knowing I wasn't alone, and from fear about what this meant for my future. My relationship with Maya became increasingly complicated. We'd grown incredibly close, and I was pretty sure she knew I had feelings for her, even though neither of us said anything directly. She'd broken up with the girl she'd been dating, and sometimes when we hung out, there would be these moments, a lingering look, sitting closer than necessary, her hand brushing mine, that made me think maybe she felt something too. But I was too scared to do anything about it. How could I, when I hadn't even told anyone I was gay? The worst part was lying to my mom. My mom and I had always been close. After my parents divorced when I was 12, it had been just the two of us. She was my best friend, my biggest supporter, the person I told everything to, except now. I was hiding the most fundamental truth about who I was. She'd ask me questions at dinner, innocent questions like any boys you're interested in, or are you going to prom with anyone? And I'd feel this wave of guilt wash over me as I mumbled vague responses, or changed the subject. I hated lying to her, even by omission, but I was terrified of what the truth might do to our relationship. My mom wasn't particularly religious, and I'd never heard her say anything explicitly homophobic, but she was also from a small town, pretty traditional in a lot of ways. and she'd made occasional comments over the years that worried me, like when my uncle came out as gay and she'd seemed uncomfortable at family gatherings, or when she'd say things about wanting grandchildren someday, or how she'd always talk about my future husband like it was a given. The idea to write a letter came to me in February. I was having another sleepless night, anxiety spiraling as I thought about college applications and prom and graduation and how much longer I could keep pretending. I realized I needed to tell my mom, but every time I imagined having that conversation face to face, my throat would close up and I'd start shaking. So I decided to write it down. That way, I could take my time, say exactly what I needed to say without getting too emotional or backing out halfway through. She could read it and process her feelings without me staring at her, waiting for a reaction. It felt safer somehow. I must have started that letter 20 different times. I'd write a paragraph, hate it, crumple up the paper, and start again. Too formal, too casual, too apologetic, not apologetic enough. I went through an entire notebook trying to find the right words. Finally, one Saturday afternoon when Mom was at work, I sat down at my desk and just let myself write from the heart. No overthinking, no editing, just honesty. I wrote for 2 hours straight, and when I was done, I had 4 pages, front and back, covered in my messiest handwriting, tear stains smudging some of the ink. I told her everything, how I'd been feeling different for a long time but only recently understood why, how I'd realized I was gay and how scary and liberating that realization had been, how I was still the same person I'd always been, her daughter, who loved her more than anything, who still wanted to make her proud, who still needed her support and love, how I was terrified she'd be disappointed or angry or wouldn't accept me, how I'd been carrying this secret around like a weight and it was crushing me, how I needed her to know the real me, even if that meant risking everything. I also wrote about Maya, though I didn't use her name at first. I told Mom about falling for someone and how beautiful and painful it was to have feelings for a girl and not be able to tell anyone, how it made me realize this wasn't just a phase or confusion, this was who I was. When I finished, I read through it probably 50 times, tweaking little things here and there. Then I carefully copied it all onto nice stationery in my neatest handwriting, sealed it in that pale blue envelope, wrote Mom on the front, and hid it in my desk drawer. That was in late February. It was now May, 3 months later, and the letter was still sitting there, undelivered. What finally pushed me to give Mom the letter wasn't some grand moment of courage, it was actually Maya. We were hanging out in my room one afternoon, supposedly studying for finals, but mostly just talking and laughing. At some point, the conversation got serious, and Maya asked me something that had clearly been on her mind. "Riley, can I ask you something? And you can totally tell me if I'm way off base here." My heart started pounding. "Sure, what's up?" "I mean, are you—" She paused, seeming to gather her courage. "Are you into girls? Because sometimes I feel like there's something between us, but I don't want to assume, and I don't want to make things weird if I'm completely misreading the situation." I froze. This was it. Someone was directly asking me the question I'd been avoiding for months. I could feel tears starting to well up, and I blinked rapidly, trying to hold them back. Hey, Maya said softly, moving closer. "It's okay. Whatever the answer is, it's okay. I'm not going anywhere." And something about the gentleness in her voice, the acceptance in her eyes, broke something open in me. The tears started flowing, and suddenly I was telling her everything. Yes, I was gay. Yes, I had feelings for her. Yes, I'd been terrified and confused and trying to figure out who I was and what to do about it. Maya listened to everything, and when I finally stopped talking, she took my hand and said, "Riley, I'm gay too. I've known since I was 14, and I've had feelings for you pretty much since the day we met, but I could tell you were still figuring things out, so I didn't want to push." My heart felt like it might explode. "Really, really," she smiled, that beautiful smile that I loved so much. "But Riley, you need to tell your mom. I know you're scared, but keeping this secret is eating you alive. You deserve to live authentically, and your mom deserves to know the real you." We talked for hours after that. Maya told me about her own coming out experience. She'd told her parents when she was 15, and while it had been difficult at first, they'd eventually come around and were now completely supportive. She held my hand while I cried and worried and catastrophized about every possible bad outcome. "What if she kicks me out?" I whispered. "Then you call me, and we figure it out together," Maya said firmly. "But Riley, From everything you've told me about your mom, I don't think that's going to happen. She loves you. Give her a chance to show up for you. Before Maya left that day, something shifted between us. As we stood at my front door saying goodbye, she leaned in and kissed me. It was soft and sweet and brief, but it was perfect. My first kiss with a girl, with Maya. For courage, she whispered against my lips, "Tell your mom, and then call me." The day everything changed that night, after Maya left, I couldn't stop thinking about what she'd said, about living authentically, about giving my mom a chance, about deserving to be seen for who I really was. I waited until after dinner, after Mom and I had cleaned up the kitchen together, after we'd settled into our usual evening routine of her reading on the couch while I supposedly did homework at the dining table. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my pen. I kept trying to focus on my calculus problems, but my eyes kept drifting to my closed bedroom door, behind which sat that desk drawer with that pale blue envelope. Finally, around 8:30, I couldn't take it anymore. My heart was racing so fast I thought I might pass out, but I stood up, walked to my room, opened the drawer, and pulled out the letter. I stood there holding it for a long moment, just breathing, in and out, in and out. I thought about Maya's kiss, about all those nights spent crying alone, about every lie I'd told and every truth I'd swallowed, about the future. I wanted one where I didn't have to hide. Then I walked back into the living room. Mom looked up from her book and smiled at me. "Hey, honey, everything okay?" "Mom, I need to give you something." My voice came out shakier than I'd intended. Can you just read it? The whole thing, and then we can talk." Her smile faded as she saw how serious I was, how badly my hands were trembling as I held out the envelope. She set down her book and took it from me, looking at her name written on the front. "Riley, what is this? Are you okay? Just, please read it. I'll be in my room. Come get me when you're done." I didn't wait for her response. I couldn't. If I stood there any longer, I'd lose my nerve completely, or start trying to explain and end up not making any sense. So I turned around and walked back to my room. Closing the door behind me, I sat on my bed, hugging my knees to my chest, and waited. I could hear the faint sound of paper rustling as Mom opened the envelope. Then, silence. The kind of heavy, oppressive silence that made every second feel like an hour. I checked my phone, texted Maya. I did it. I gave her the letter. She responded immediately. "I'm so proud of you. I'm here. Whatever happens." I stared at my closed door, trying to imagine what was happening on the other side. Was Mom angry, disappointed, crying? Was she regretting every parenting decision she'd ever made? Was she wondering where she'd gone wrong? Or could she possibly be okay with it? 20 minutes passed, then 30, then 45. Each minute felt like torture. I started catastrophizing again. Maybe she was so upset she couldn't even come talk to me. Maybe she was calling my dad or my grandmother, or a therapist. Maybe she was packing my things, preparing to send me away. Then, finally, I heard footsteps approaching my door. A soft knock. "Riley, can I come in?" Her voice sounded strange, thick, like she'd been crying. My stomach dropped. "Yeah," I managed to say. Mom single quotes as response. The door opened, and my mom stepped inside. Her eyes were red and puffy, mascara slightly smudged. She was still holding my letter in one hand. For a moment, we just looked at each other, and I felt like I might shatter from the tension. Then she crossed the room, sat down on the bed next to me, and pulled me into the tightest hug I'd ever experienced. "I am so sorry," she whispered into my hair, her voice breaking. "I am so sorry that you felt like you had to carry this alone for so long, that you were scared to tell me, that I ever made you feel like you couldn't come to me with something this important." I started sobbing, big, ugly, relieved sobs that shook my whole body. Mom held me tighter, rocking me slightly like she used to do when I was little and had nightmares. "Riley, listen to me," she said, pulling back just enough to look at my face, her hands on my shoulders. "I love you. I love you exactly as you are. You are my daughter, my whole world, and nothing will ever change that. You're not mad." I choked out. "Mad, baby? No, I'm not mad. She paused, seeming to search for the right words. "I'm sad that you've been hurting. I'm angry at myself for not noticing, for not creating a space where you felt safe telling me sooner. I'm overwhelmed because this is new information and I'm processing. But mad at you. Never. Not for this. Not for being who you are." We sat there for a while, both of us crying, holding each other. Eventually, we moved to lean against the headboard, sitting side by side, and we talked. really talked, in a way we hadn't in months. Mom asked me questions. When did I know? How did I know? Was I sure? Had I told anyone else? Was I seeing anyone? I answered as honestly as I could, even telling her about Maya, about our friendship and my feelings and the kiss earlier that day. To my surprise, Mom smiled at that. Maya from your lit class, the one you're always talking about. I felt my cheeks heat up. Yeah, she sounds wonderful. I'd like to meet her properly sometime. Not as your friend, but as your girlfriend. Is that what you'd call her? I don't know yet. We haven't really defined it. But yeah, I hope so. Mom squeezed my hand. I want you to know that I support you completely. And I know I probably have a lot to learn. And I might make mistakes or say the wrong thing sometimes as I'm figuring this out. But I promise, I will always try. You deserve to be loved and accepted for exactly who you are. And I'm sorry if I ever made you doubt that. I thought about all my fears: being kicked out, being rejected, disappointing her, losing our relationship. And here she was, holding my hand, telling me she loved me, asking about the girl I liked. What about grandchildren? I asked quietly. You always talk about wanting grandchildren, and I know you talk about my future husband and stuff. Mom was quiet for a moment. You know what? I do want grandchildren someday, and I've probably been too presumptuous about how that would happen. But Riley, there are lots of ways to have a family: adoption, surrogacy, co-parenting, and honestly, you're 18. We don't need to figure out your family planning right now. She laughed a little, wiping her eyes. What I want, more than grandchildren, more than anything, is for you to be happy, to find love, to build a life that feels authentic and fulfilling to you. That's all I've ever wanted for you. We talked late into the night, covering everything from my fears to her own journey of understanding, to what coming out to the rest of the family might look like. She admitted that she didn't know much about LGBTQ issues and asked if I could help educate her. She wanted to know if I needed therapy or support groups or resources. She asked about school. Had I faced any discrimination? Did I feel safe? Did my friends know? Moving forward, the weeks after giving Mom the letter were transformative. It felt like a massive weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I could breathe again. I could be myself in my own home. Mom dove into research mode. She bought books about LGBTQ youth and parenting. She joined a PFLAG chapter in our area. She even got a small pride flag sticker for her car, which made me simultaneously embarrassed and incredibly touched. She also invited Maya over for dinner, and it was adorably awkward and sweet. Mom asked Maya a million questions about school, her interests, her family, and Maya handled it all with grace and humor. By the end of the night, Mom pulled me aside and whispered, I like her. She's good for you. I can see why you fell for her. Maya and I started officially dating after that. We couldn't believe how easy it was once we'd both acknowledged our feelings. We'd hold hands in the hallways at school. We went to prom together, and Mom took about 100 photos of us in our matching dresses. We made plans for college. We'd both been accepted to schools in Thesum City, and were excited about staying together. Coming out to my friends was less dramatic. Most of them responded with some version of, yeah, we kind of figured, or finally. Apparently, I hadn't been as subtle as I thought. Coming out to extended family was harder. Some relatives were immediately accepting. Others needed time. A few said hurtful things that still sting. But through it all, Mom was my fiercest advocate, never letting anyone make me feel less than, always standing up for me. My dad's reaction was complicated. He and Mom had divorced because of his drinking, and we weren't super close. When Mom told him over the phone, he went quiet, then said he needed time to process. It took him a few months, but eventually he called and asked if we could have lunch. It was awkward, but he told me he loved me and wanted to support me, even if he didn't fully understand. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. It's been over a year now since I gave Mom that letter. I'm in college, majoring in English literature. Maya is here too, studying psychology. Sometimes I think about that girl I was a year ago, clutching that pale blue envelope, terrified of what would happen if I told the truth. I wish I could go back and tell her it was going to be okay, better than okay, that the fear and anxiety were worth it for the freedom. On the other side, that's not to say coming out is always easy or that everyone has a happy ending. I know I'm lucky. My mom chose love over fear, acceptance over prejudice. Not everyone gets that. Some people face rejection, homelessness, or worse. I don't take my good fortune for granted, but I also know that living authentically, being true to who you are, is worth fighting for. The weight of secrecy, The exhaustion of pretending, the pain of hiding, it's too heavy to carry forever. If you're reading this and you're in the closet, still holding your own version of that pale blue envelope, I want you to know a few things. First, there is no right time or right way to come out. Some people announce it to their whole family at once. Some people tell one person at a time. Some people post on social media. Some people write letters. Some people never formally come out at all. They just start living authentically and let people figure it out. Whatever feels right for you is the right choice. Second, your safety comes first. If you're in a situation where coming out could put you in danger financially, physically, emotionally, then it's okay to wait. It's okay to protect yourself. Coming out isn't more important than your well-being. There's no shame in waiting until you're in a safer situation. Third, it's okay to be scared. I was terrified. Most people are. That fear doesn't mean you're not brave. It means you're human. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite the fear. And finally, you deserve to be loved for who you are. You deserve to live openly and authentically. You deserve relationships with family, friends, partners that are based on truth rather than pretense. You deserve to be happy. That pale blue envelope did change everything, but not in the ways I feared. It didn't destroy my relationship with my mom. It deepened it. It didn't make my life harder. It made it fuller, richer, more honest. It didn't close doors. It opened them. The girl I was afraid to admit I had feelings for became my girlfriend. The mother I was terrified would reject me became my biggest champion. The secret I thought would isolate me ended up connecting me to an entire community of people who understood. Mom still has the letter. She keeps it in a box with other important documents. My birth certificate, my high school diploma, old report cards. She told me once that she rereads it sometimes, especially when she's missing me now that I'm away at college. It reminds me of how brave you are, she said, and how grateful I am that you trusted me with your truth. I still have moments of doubt sometimes, moments when I worry about discrimination, or whether I'll face challenges in my career, or what the future holds. But then, I think about 18-year-old me, hands shaking as I handed over that envelope, and I remembered that I've already faced one of my biggest fears and survived it. More than survived, I thrived. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. Your truth is worth telling. The people who truly love you will surprise you with their capacity for acceptance and growth. And while coming out isn't easy, living inauthentically is harder. That letter changed everything. It changed my relationship with my mom, my understanding of myself, my confidence in who I am. It opened up a future where I don't have to hide or pretend or diminish myself. And if you're ready, if you're safe, if you're holding your own letter, literal or metaphorical, I hope you'll find the courage to share it too. Because you deserve to be seen. You deserve to be known. You deserve to be loved exactly as you are. The world needs more truth, more authenticity, more courage. And sometimes, that courage looks like a pale blue envelope with mom written on the front. Sometimes, it's just one letter that changes everything. What I didn't expect was how my coming out would affect other people in my life. About 2 months after I gave mom the letter, something happened that I never saw coming. We were having Sunday brunch at my grandmother's house, mom's mom, who we call Nana. It was a tradition we'd kept for years: scrambled eggs, bacon, fresh fruit, and Nana's famous blueberry pancakes. The whole family was there: Nana, my Aunt Teresa, my Uncle Mike, and my 2 younger cousins, Sophie and Jake. Maya had come with us this time. Mom had insisted, saying Maya was part of the family now. I was nervous about it. Nana was old-fashioned, and while she'd been polite when Mom told her I was gay, she hadn't exactly been warm about it either. There had been a lot of "I just want you to be happy" comments that felt more like I'm disappointed but trying to hide it. We were all sitting around Nana's big dining table, passing plates and chatting, when Sophie, who was 14, suddenly went quiet. She was pushing food around her plate, not eating, and she had this look on her face that I recognized, the same anxious, trapped expression I'd seen in my own mirror for months. "Sophie, honey, you okay?" Aunt Teresa asked, noticing her daughter's silence. Sophie looked up, her eyes glassy with unshed tears. She glanced at me, then at Maya, then back down at her plate. "I need to tell you all something." The table went silent. Everyone was looking at Sophie now, who was gripping her fork so tightly her knuckles were white. She started, her voice barely above a whisper. "I think I might be. I know I am." She couldn't seem to get the words out. Without thinking, I reached across the table and put my hand over hers. "It's okay, Soph. Whatever it is, it's okay. She looked at me with tears streaming down her face now. I'm bisexual. I've known for a while, but I was too scared to say anything. But then Riley came out, and I saw how brave she was, and how Aunt Sarah supported her, and I can't keep pretending anymore. The table erupted in different reactions. Aunt Teresa looked shocked. Uncle Mike put his arm around his daughter, and Nana looked like she might need a moment. But before anyone could say anything potentially hurtful, my mom spoke up. Sophie, thank you for trusting us with this, Mom said firmly, her voice full of warmth that took real courage, and I'm proud of you for being honest about who you are. I squeezed Sophie's hand. Me too, and if you ever need to talk about anything, I'm here, always. Maya nodded in agreement. We both are. Sophie smiled through her tears, and something in the atmosphere shifted. Aunt Teresa, after a moment of processing, moved her chair closer to Sophie and hugged her. I love you, baby, no matter what. We'll figure this out together. Later, after brunch, Sophie pulled me aside while everyone else was in the living room. Riley, can I tell you something? Of course. I read your coming out post on Instagram, the one you made last month, and it made me realize I didn't have to be alone with this. Seeing you and Maya together, seeing how Aunt Sarah supports you, seeing how you're just living your life openly, it gave me hope that maybe I could do that too. My eyes welled up with tears. Sophie, I had no idea. I've been following LGBT accounts and reading stories online for months, trying to figure out who I am, but seeing someone in my actual family living authentically, that's what made the difference. You showed me it was possible. I hugged her tightly. I'm so glad you told everyone, and I meant what I said. I'm here for you, whatever you need. Actually, Sophie said, pulling back with a shy smile, there's this girl at school, Hannah. We've been friends for a while, but recently, it's felt like maybe it could be more, and I have no idea what to do about it. I laughed, remembering my own confusion with Maya. Okay, let me tell you everything I learned the hard way about having a crush on your friend. We spent the next hour sitting on Nana's porch swing, and I shared all the things I wished someone had told me. How to recognize if someone might like you back, how to build up the courage to be honest about your feelings, how to handle rejection if it didn't work out, how to navigate your first relationship. When we went back inside, Nana pulled me aside. Riley, I need to talk to you. My heart sank. Here it comes, I thought. The lecture about how I'd influenced Sophie, how I was corrupting the family, how things were better when everyone kept these things private. But that's not what happened. Nana sat down heavily in her favorite armchair and gestured for me to sit across from her. Her eyes were red, and she looked older somehow. When your mother told me you were gay, I didn't react the way I should have, she began. I was polite, but I wasn't supportive, and I'm ashamed of that. I opened my mouth to respond, but she held up a hand. Let me finish. I grew up in a different time, Riley. Being gay wasn't something people talked about. It was something people hid, and I absorbed a lot of beliefs that I never questioned. But watching Sophie today, seeing her pain and her fear, and then seeing how you and your mother and Maya responded with nothing but love and support, it made me realize something. She paused, wiping at her eyes. I've been so worried about what other people might think, about whether this is right or normal, that I forgot the most important thing. You're my granddaughter, and I love you. Sophie is my granddaughter, and I love her. And your happiness, both of you, matters more than any outdated belief I might be clinging to. Nana, I'm sorry. Riley, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you the way I should have been. I'm sorry I made you feel like you had to tiptoe around me, and I'm going to do better. With you, with Sophie, with anyone else in this family who needs support and love. I got up and hugged her, both of us crying now. Thank you, Nana. That means everything. Over the following months, I watched Sophie navigate her own coming out journey, and it was like seeing a reflection of my own experience. She came out to her friends at school, joined the GSA, and eventually worked up the courage to tell Hannah how she felt. The day Hannah said she felt the same way, Sophie called me squealing with excitement. Riley, she likes me. Hannah likes me. We're going to the movies on Friday, just the two of us, and I think it's a date. I was so happy for her that I nearly cried. Maya and I invited Sophie and Hannah to double date with us a few weeks later, mini golf followed by ice cream. Watching Sophie hold Hannah's hand, seeing the pure joy on her face, reminded me of those early days with Maya. But Sophie's journey wasn't all smooth. She faced some bullying at school from kids who didn't understand or didn't approve. She dealt with former friends who distanced themselves. She struggled with her own internalized biphobia, worrying that she wasn't gay enough or that people wouldn't take her identity seriously. I was there for all of it: late-night phone calls when she was upset, text conversations about how to handle difficult situations, pep talks before she had to face something scary. And slowly, I watched her grow into herself, just like I had. One evening, about 6 months after her coming out, Sophie and I were hanging out in my college apartment. Maya was at a study group, so it was just the two of us, eating pizza and watching a movie. "You know what's weird?" Sophie said during a commercial break. "What, a year ago, I thought being bi was this terrible secret I had to hide forever. I thought if anyone found out, my life would be over. But now, I actually like myself more. I feel more authentic. And yeah, some things are harder, but I'm happier." I smiled. "I know exactly what you mean. Do you think you'll ever regret coming out? Like, do you ever wish you'd just stayed in the closet?" I thought about it seriously before answering. No, never. Even on the hard days, even when I faced discrimination or prejudice, I wouldn't go back. Living authentically is worth it. Every single time. Sophie nodded thoughtfully. "Thanks, Riley, for everything. For going first. For showing me it was possible." About a month after Sophie came out, I decided to share my story on Instagram. Not the whole thing that felt too personal, but a condensed version with some photos. Me and Maya, me and Mom, a shot of the pale blue envelope, though I didn't show what was inside. The caption was simple. "1 year ago, I gave my mom a letter that changed everything. I came out as gay, terrified of losing the person I loved most. Instead, I gained even more love, acceptance, and the freedom to be myself." To anyone still holding their letter, you deserve to be seen for who you really are. I expected maybe a few dozen likes from friends and family. What I didn't expect was for the post to blow up. Within a week, it had thousands of likes and hundreds of comments. People from all over were sharing their own coming out stories. Others were asking for advice. Some were thanking me for giving them courage. A few were hateful, but the overwhelming majority were supportive and kind. One message in particular stuck with me. It was from a girl named Emma, who was 16 and living in a small conservative town. "Riley, I don't know if you'll see this, but I wanted to thank you. I've known I'm a lesbian since I was 13, but I've never told anyone. My parents are very religious, and I'm scared of what will happen if they find out. But reading your story gave me hope that maybe someday I can live authentically too. For now, I'm going to focus on staying safe and getting through high school. But knowing that there's a whole community out there, that people like you exist and are happy and thriving, it helps me get through the hard days. So thank you." I wrote back to Emma, and we ended up having a long conversation. I told her that her safety was the most important thing, that there was no shame in waiting until she was in a better situation. I connected her with online LGBTQ resources and support groups. I let her know that her future wouldn't always look like her present. That conversation led to more conversations. Suddenly, I found myself becoming an accidental advocate, someone young LGBTQ people reached out to for advice and support. It was overwhelming sometimes, but also deeply meaningful. Maya and I started a YouTube channel together, sharing our experiences and creating content for LGBTQ youth. Nothing fancy, just us talking honestly about our lives, our relationship, the challenges we faced, and the joy we'd found in living authentically. Mom appeared in some of the videos too, offering a parent's perspective on having a gay daughter and talking about her own journey of education and advocacy through PFLAG. The channel grew slowly but steadily. We weren't trying to be influencers or make money. We just wanted to create the kind of content we wished we'd had when we were first figuring ourselves out. The Letter Project, inspired by my own experience, I started something I called the Letter Project. It was simple. I invited LGBTQ people to write letters to their younger selves, to their families, to society, to anyone who needed to hear their truth, and I'd share them anonymously if they preferred. On our YouTube channel and Instagram, the response was incredible. Letters poured in from all over the world, from people in their 60s who'd lived most of their lives in the closet, from teenagers taking their first steps towards from parents trying to understand and support their queer children, from people who'd been rejected by their families and were building chosen families instead. Each letter was a window into someone's soul, a moment of vulnerability and courage. Reading them, sharing them, watching the community that formed around them, it was transformative. One letter came from a woman named Patricia, who was 73 years old. I'm writing this letter to my younger self, the girl who knew she loved women but was too afraid to ever act on it. I married a man, had children, and lived what looked like a normal life. My husband passed away 5 years ago, and I thought I'd live out my remaining years alone with my secret. But then I met Margaret at a book club, and at 71 years old, I fell in love for the first time. Real, true love. We've been together for 2 years now, and I'm finally living authentically. I wish I'd had the courage to do this 50 years ago, but I'm grateful for the time I have now. To any young person reading this, don't wait. Life is too short to spend it pretending to be someone you're not. That letter made me cry. So did many others. Each one was a reminder of why this work mattered, why visibility mattered, why telling our stories mattered. Coming full circle, as my freshman year of college came to an end, I found myself reflecting on how much had changed in just over a year. I'd gone from a scared, closeted high school senior to an openly gay college student with a girlfriend I loved, a supportive family, and a platform to help others, Maya. And I celebrated our 1-year anniversary in June. We went back to the park, where we'd had our first official date, and had a picnic under the same tree where we'd first said I love you to each other. Can you believe it's been a year? Maya asked, lying with her head in my lap as I played with her curls. Sometimes it feels like forever, and sometimes it feels like yesterday, I said. Do you remember how terrified you were when we first started talking about your feelings? Terrified doesn't even cover it. I thought my whole world was going to fall apart. And instead, it came together. I smiled down at her, better than I ever could have imagined. Maya sat up and kissed me. I'm proud of you, you know, for everything you've done this year, coming out, starting the YouTube channel, the letter project. You've helped so many people. We've helped people. This is us together. Together, she agreed, lacing her fingers through mine. That summer, Mom, Maya, and I went to our first Pride parade together. We wore matching rainbow shirts that said Proud Mom, Proud to be Me, and Proud Ally respectively. We marched with PFLAG, waving flags and cheering, surrounded by thousands of people celebrating their authentic selves. At one point, I looked around at the sea of rainbow flags, the families walking together, the couples holding hands, the kids with face paint and glitter, the older generation who'd fought for the rights we now enjoyed. I thought about that scared girl who'd written a letter in her bedroom, convinced that coming out would ruin her life. I wished I could tell her, this is what's waiting for you. This joy, this freedom, this community, this love, all of it. Every hard moment will be worth it for this. Sophie was there too, walking with Hannah and a group of friends from her school's GSA. She waved at us excitedly when she spotted us in the crowd. Having fun, I called out to her, best day ever. She shouted back, and I believed her. Later, as the parade was winding down, a young girl approached me hesitantly. She looked about 14, with braces and a nervous smile. Excuse me, are you Riley, from YouTube? I was surprised anyone recognized me. Yeah, that's me. I just wanted to say thank you. I've been watching your videos, and they really helped me. I came out to my parents last month, and they were really supportive. I don't think I would have had the courage if I hadn't seen your story first. My eyes immediately welled up with tears. Thank you for telling me that. I'm so glad your parents were supportive. They were, and I just wanted you to know that what you're doing matters. It really, really matters. She gave me a quick hug and then ran back to her family. I stood there, watching her go, feeling overwhelmed with emotion. Mom put her arm around me. You okay, honey? Yeah, I said, wiping at my eyes. I'm really happy, and really grateful. Me too, Mom said softly. Me too. The pale blue envelope lives on. That pale blue envelope sits in Mom's important documents box. But its legacy has grown beyond those 4 handwritten pages. It became a symbol of courage, vulnerability, and the transformative power of truth. I've received dozens of messages from people who've written their own letters after hearing my story. Some have delivered them. Some are still holding on to them, waiting for the right moment. Some have taken different approaches, direct conversations, text messages, coming out posts on social media, but they all share the same core truths. Being honest about who you are is one of the bravest things you can do. As I write this, I'm preparing to start my sophomore year of college. Maya and I are moving into a new apartment. Sophie just started high school, where she's already joined the drama club and the GSA. Mom is now leading a PFLAG chapter and has become an outspoken advocate for LGBTQ rights. And me, I'm still that girl who loves literature and overthinks everything and feels things deeply, but now I'm also the girl who chose courage over comfort, the girl who decided her truth was worth telling, the girl who learned that love, real, unconditional love, doesn't disappear when you reveal your authentic self. If anything, it grows stronger. If I could give one piece of advice to my past self, or to anyone reading this who's still struggling with their identity or contemplating coming out, it would be this: your story matters. Your truth matters. You matter. Whether you deliver your letter tomorrow or 10 years from now, whether you come out loudly or quietly, whether you face acceptance or rejection, your identity is valid. Your feelings are real, and you deserve to live authentically. That pale blue envelope changed everything, not just my life, but Sophie's life, and the lives of countless people who've reached out to share their stories with me. It started a ripple effect of courage and truth that continues to spread. And maybe, just maybe, your letter will do the same. Whatever form it takes, whatever words you choose, whenever you're ready, your truth is worth telling. And on the other side of that fear, there's a life waiting for you. A life where you can breathe freely, love openly, and be completely, unapologetically yourself. That's the life I found, and I hope, someday, you'll find it too. The pale blue envelope is just the beginning. The rest of the story, that's up to you too, right?